Okay, we are live. Hello. Hi, it's Julie with Paradigm Interiors, and today is Friday with Friends, and I have my friend Alicia Kay back again today to talk about some organizing tips specific to the kitchen. So Alicia is from Try Organizing, and I just wanted to kind of refresh everybody's memory because we were going to do this back when I was doing all the kitchen remodeling topics, and it kind of fit in there. And then we had some technical issues and it took us like 20 minutes to try to figure out, and we still couldn't get her on the video. So now we're coming back to that topic. But if you remember, we talked about kitchen design. Some of the key features for kitchen storage is that you want the storage, or the majority of it, to be from your nose to your knees. And then, just to remember that some of the ideal types of storage are, pull down cabinets, pull out pantries, or pantries that open and then have pull out shelves so that you can get to the back part. And in using things that can enhance your storage. So today, what we're going to be talking about is I'm going to ask Alicia to start out by talking about 3 design features that are great for helping you get organized, and you can create good organization systems around those features. For those of you who may be thinking about doing a remodel, you can include these 3 features in your kitchen. And then if you're not really planning on doing a remodel, let's say you just want to do a refresh, you're not going to change the layout or the way they need things done. We're going to talk about 3 really not so great design elements and how you can enhance those to make those better storage and better organization for you. So, Alicia, what are your top 3 favorite, easiest to organize features in a kitchen?
Yeah, number 1, the pantry. If you can do yourself just a beautiful pantry that has real wood shelving or adjustable shelving. California Closets does some beautiful pantry installs, but I guarantee if you're doing a kitchen remodel, your contractor will have the right contacts to be able to do a custom pantry for you. And the return on investment for a custom pantry is almost dollar to dollar. Someone who walks into a home and sees a custom pantry is going to literally kiss the ground that you walk on, because it is such an asset in Florida. So often we're seeing just really not functional wire shelving, or just simple reach-in pantries. And if you've got the space to create a custom pantry, and you can do additional things, like you could have even like a beverage cooler in there, or, your wine cooler, and almost do a pseudo butler's pantry. There's a lot of options, and I'm sure you've helped clients design, Julie, to just really create a ton of a beautiful functional space. So that's number 1, a custom pantry. And if you can spring for the adjustable shelving, even better. No wire shelving. Do not get convinced to do the wire shelving. I always discourage people from doing it. And then number 2 is just those lower cabinets can be really tough to get down to. And there's some really amazing custom options that I've seen that actually you pull out and lift up, and makes the lift not so bad, especially for those heavier small appliances like KitchenAids. Those stand mixers are like so heavy. But any tray that allows you to use those lower cabinets like drawers. Rev-A-Shelf is one that is really common from like Home Depot and things like that. But anything that just allows you to be able to pull out those items, especially those cabinets are 25 inches deep, if my memory serves me correctly. It's hard to get all the way back there, and it allows you to use the entire depth of that lower cabinet, which is awesome. And then the other thing is custom drawer dividers. Nothing is nicer when you open a drawer and you have these beautiful dividers that match your cabinetry. So I love to see this in a utensil drawer, but I also love to see it in almost that kitchen gadget drawer that houses like your spatulas and spoons and different, little gadgets that we all have, that we like to have. And I just love to see those custom drawer dividers, because, you can get some great drop-in ones from the Container Store, which we're going to touch on, but custom ones that are, unique to your cabinets gives it that special touch.
Yeah. For sure. Cool. So in a kitchen that maybe somebody's not planning on changing the cabinets, or the cabinets are just maybe they're going to get repainted or refaced, so the footprint of the kitchen and the general layout of the kitchen staying the same. What are some things that you see, like, especially with kitchens built, 15, 20 years ago, or, if it's like a standard builder type kitchen that we see a lot of in Central Florida, what are some of the design elements that are tough to work with, but that you've got some really great solutions for to keep organized? Because I know wire shelves, that's one thing. Just a hard thing to deal with.
Absolutely. I face these a lot. Wire shelves are not undefeatable, and it is an upgrade to decide to do a custom pantry. So a lot of times when I'm working with a client, wire shelves are often a pain point because they do sag, especially under canned goods and things like that. But there are products that we can put on it to give those wire shelves a stable surface, to allow items to sit nicer on them. And I'm just going to grab some items behind me to show you what you can do. This, for example, oops, I should have brought these closer. This is a really common product that I use. It's just a can grandstand, but it's expandable. It's super deep. It holds a ton of product, and it levels off those wire shelves, which is like half the battle. All of a sudden, you don't see that sagging shelf, and you see a beautiful can grandstand with all your cans lined up and matching and labels facing out. It just makes all the difference in your space. And then also, bins, clean bins that allow you to use the entire depth of the shelf are super, super helpful. And a lot of times I see cabinets that have a large space between the two shelves, and that can be challenging because you're not able to use all the vertical space. So stacking systems can make a huge difference. And so I'm just going to show two that I really love. And I just found this product a few months ago. It's called the Chancellor bin. It's from the Container Store. But this is two separate bins, but they stack on top of one another. And by using two different sizes, it allows you to access the stuff that's in here. But you can also slide this one back and forth. And you could stack two on top of the other, allowing you to kind of use all that vertical space. Cool. And which is super helpful. And these are products that are, for a couple $100, you can completely renovate your pantry, which is amazing. And then finally, we were going over our beloved clear drawers. This is the small tint bin from the Container Store. And you can stack these. You can put kids' snacks in them, energy bars, things like that. And they're super easy to clean. And it is really fun to use organizational products in pantries. That's definitely the guts of my business. But I always advocate for using plastic in Florida, or something that bugs aren't going to like. That's unfortunately a part of our landscape here. And so as much as I love water hyacinth baskets and wicker baskets and all that, unfortunately critters like cockroaches and silverfish love them. So I love plastic because they're easy to clean. They're super hygienic. So I've gotten a little bit off track there. So, so pantry, for sure, you can really just completely renovate a pantry by just using the right products. Right. And so we're talking, sorry, can you please remind me of the question? I got so off track. A couple of other areas that are tough, because we talked about the pantry with the wire shelves and how that's tough. And then other areas that are tough, but that you have some solutions that you can work with. So we talked about the pull-out shelves, and I'm actually in the process of doing this, and we were discussing this before we went on air. You can buy off the rack, like at Home Depot, things like that. There's really beautiful products like this one. That's a wire pull-out shelf that install in those lower cabinets. Container Store sells one that I'm have had in my cart for a few weeks. That's a pull-out basket. So there's all sorts of different options, and these run like $30. They're not expensive, and it really allows you to be able to access the back of your cabinets. And so that's definitely a great way to make your lower cabinets much more functional. Yeah. And then my other favorite place to use organizational products is under the sink. Under most kitchen sinks is not a super attractive place. So I always like to get
Ours is bad. I need to work on it.
Yeah. So organizational products can just like completely renovate this space. And I recently shared a how-to video on this on my blog. So if you have any questions, head over to tryorganizing.com, and I've got a how-to series on this. But I love putting down a nice silicone waterproof mat. So if there ever is a leak, you kind of have a little bit of insurance so that your cabinet doesn't get damaged. And you can find those on Amazon, but you can get custom ones made. And then I love to use a product like this, just a nice deep clear bin to put all my cleaning products in. You put your garbage bags in there, dishwasher tabs in like a nice mason jar or a pop lid OXO bin. And just getting all of those products that might normally leak and stain the bottoms of your cabinets into bins. And then if you do need to access something, you just pull that out like a drawer, access that item at the back, and it looks beautiful. You put a beautiful chalkboard label on that, use a water-based pen, or if you've got, a Cricut or a Silhouette, you can do a fancy vinyl label if you like. But it just makes all the difference when you open up those lower cabinets and see a beautiful organizational system. It is a little tricky because you have to work around the plumbing, but there's a lot of different products out there that can be super, super helpful.
Awesome. So step one, put down a silicone mat so you
get
those drips. I like that idea because I know we do not have any kind of barrier in ours.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize, and I, looked at mine, and it was kind of like, lifting a bit, and there had been like, drips over the years, and I was kind of mortified and upset with myself. Like, oh my goodness, like kitchen cabinets are an investment. And the Silicone Mat just looks super clean and really just protects from any messes that might happen under there. And it looks beautiful too.
And is that like almost like a baking mat? Or is it something? I didn't know
exactly. You can do like a baking mat, or the one I got is actually like a silicone dish drying mat. So it's meant for you to put like your wine glasses on. So the water will channel, and it just like, I got one that's like a little bit deep so that if there is a leak, it could hold some water, and give you just a bit of insurance if you're, happen to be out shopping and your dishwasher decides to break and leak everywhere. Or we had our garbage disposal crack a few years ago. So it's just one of those like very small investments that you can make that can potentially save your cabinetry in the case of a leak. So yeah, it's just something small. I kind of figured out doing I always test things on myself first. And I've been super grateful to have done that little upgrade.
Cool. Was there anything else, any other areas in the kitchen?
Yeah, absolutely. I could go on and on, but I love drawer dividers. I just think when you get drawer dividers that you use up your entire drawer, like I hate little gaps. I don't like it. I just want like a super smooth, looks custom. And there's so many out there. Like I love white ones, but that's my aesthetic. But you can get a beautiful acrylic ones. You can get bamboo ones. There's all sorts of different ones out there, and you can really find something that matches your taste. And then it just creates so much organization in a drawer that would normally just be like dysfunctional and not be able to divide your space. And there's also spring loaded drawer dividers. So if you don't want the, like almost like the little cubby unit for each little item, you can just get a spring loaded drawer divider and maybe divide a large, 20 to 28 inch drawer into 4 or 5 spaces. And that can be handy for items that are really long, like turkey basters and spatulas and all sorts of things like that. So barbecue tools is another one that it's very hard to find a drawer divider long enough to hold those items. But drawer dividers are your friend for sure. And they can really make a huge difference. And again, really protects your drawers. It protects the bottoms of your drawers from getting nicked up with all sorts of different items that we just carelessly throw in there.
Cool. Man, I have a pop question for you that we
Yeah,
haven't talked about.
that's okay. Bring it
You
on.
might kill me for asking you this. So I have strongly held opinions
Mhm.
about lazy Susans versus like a Rev-A-Shelf pull-out
Yep.
corner cabinet thing. Do you have any thoughts or feelings or opinions on that?
Yeah, it depends. Like, do you mean like in the corner where there would normally be a lazy Susan?
Yeah.
It's funny, I don't see them in Florida. I
Yeah.
never,
Really?
yes, and I grew up with them. And when I lived up in Massachusetts, I saw them all everywhere. But in all of my clients' houses, the only thing I ever see in that corner, I think honestly, in a lot of the builder grade houses now, they're just leaving it dead. And they're
Yeah.
putting
Yeah.
like a baking tray thing in, like a super narrow
Oh,
cabinet. I think for me, I just want to see every inch used. And I
me too.
find a lot of times with the lazy Susan, it sometimes things can get lost, but
Mhm.
at least you're using that space. What is your thought? Like, what do you always advocate for with your clients?
I advocate for like a Rev-A-Shelf,
Okay.
or something that's a little upgrade from a lazy Susan,
Hmm.
because when you spin the lazy Susan around, it can dump things off the back. Now,
Yeah.
I will say we have a Rev-A-Shelf, and it's like a wire.
Hmm.
It's open, so we've had to put down like a mat
Yep.
so that things don't drop through, and it's where I store my Tupperware
Yep.
type stuff.
Yeah.
And my daughter hates dealing with it because
Hmm.
she just wants to throw stuff in there. And there's a
Yeah.
system. So she doesn't like to follow the system of the way that it's organized.
Yeah.
But when it's done right, it's great. And they're easy. Like if something falls behind on a lazy Susan, you can't actually disassemble the lazy Susan
Correct.
easily. With the rubber shelf, you can lift the baskets off and get back in the corners. Now, what I would love is some lighting back there.
Absolutely. And it's so funny that you say that because I have been shopping for the perfect rechargeable, wire free, motion sensing lighting,
Mm,
especially for pantries. So often I'll do a pantry and I'll wish that I had brought my ring light to take the after picture
right.
because it's just dark. And so
Mhm.
I completely agree with you. And that's something that I've just been searching for the right one. But there's plenty on Amazon that are motion sensing. You open that cabinet drawer or that anything, and it'll just turn on and turn off as soon as you close it. So I agree that I think lighting can make a huge difference in a space, especially those small dark ones. But to get back to your lazy Susan point too, I completely agree with you that stuff can get lost behind, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to clean up a mess. Like say a bag of flour tips over or something like that. Now you have all
Mhm.
that mess in the cabinet. With how do you even get in there and
Yeah,
clean it up? It's like
it's
nearly
very hard.
impossible.
Yeah, and a lot of people do keep food on a lazy Susan too.
Yes.
I've seen people that do like pots and pans. I think my mom
Hmm.
keeps like pots and pans
Hmm.
and stuff on hers. But I've just never been a fan because
Yeah.
I feel like it's just, and plus there's a lot of dead space behind it with the rubber shelf
Yeah.
because it's, several
Square.
different layers. Yeah, you
Yeah.
pull it out, you push it to the side. But, I have specified it for clients before and they like the idea, but then in reality, they're not crazy about it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they would have preferred a lazy Susan over the Reva shelf. I think that it has its own complications. If you can get the one with the solid tray, it's always
Yes.
better to get that
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. And my thing is just always trying to find dead space
Mhm.
and using product to use up dead space. Like I feel like lazy Susans could be a lot more functional if there were pie shaped vessels, that kind of
Right,
used up
right.
the entire thing like a pizza.
Right.
And you do see lazy Susans out there. I believe iDesign makes it
Yeah.
for like kids arts and crafts or for cosmetics that it's a lazy Susan. It's quite big. It's like, I want to say it's 24 inches, but it has like pie shaped compartments so that like if you're doing your eye makeup, you can pull that off and do your eye makeup and put it back, or like if kids markers and things like that. So if they made like a gigantic version of that in the lazy Susan, then it could be a lot more functional. But I completely agree with you that a lot of times things get lost and it can get messy. So yeah, of course, organizational mind is thinking, what kind of product could fix this problem? Because that's really like what organizers do. Like as much as we declutter and help streamline things, we're also finding products that make your life easier.
That's with our, we need to go through all of our plastic storage bins.
Right.
And my husband's first wife was actually a Tupperware rep. Well, yeah.
Wow.
And when she passed away, he kept all of her Tupperware. Yeah. And so we still have a ton of Tupperware, but the problem is we have a lot of round stuff and the rubbish shelf is very square. And so I need lots of square stuff. So I think I need to call a Tupperware person and be like, hey, how do we fit, get the pieces that we need to store things and get new lids for the things. Cause those have like a lifetime guarantee that if something breaks, you can get it replaced and they last forever. I mean, our Tupperware is 20 years old. My grandmother sold Tupperware back in the 50s after my mother was born, and she still has pieces of Tupperware from the 50s. So
that's amazing.
It'll last forever. Yeah. That's not a plug for Tupperware.
Not sponsored.
Yeah, no, this is not a sponsored thing at all, but it is it's stuff. It's just, it's exactly like what you said, where you have to have somebody who knows all the products to help you figure out like what's going to work here. And that's the point that I'm at with the rubbish shelf. It's like, obviously it's a great product, but you also have to invest. You and we need to get together and figure out like how we can package that service on the back end. When I'm selling a kitchen project to go ahead and wrap up organizing services in there for the kitchen. I hadn't really thought about that until right now. It's like, ooh, that'd be something.
And it's funny, like even just sitting here right now, I'm already thinking about your rubbish shelf because I know what they look like. They're really like remarkable to watch. Like you pull out and then like this whole other section comes and that can pull out. And I'm already thinking of ideas for you. So we'll have to touch base after this. Because I'm sure I'll have some different suggestions. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to get you, when you talk about closets, I'm like, oh, when we get ready to do the closets, you are coming to my house.
I would be honored to.
It's probably going to be my daughter's closet first because hers is the most dysfunctional of them. But, and we're way off topic now. So this is what happens on the first episodes. So we just
that's all right. We're still talking
out
about design and organization. And what we do is really kind of linked in a lot of ways. It's like the more that I've talked to you and learned about what you do, like it's very much about you're setting up the hardware for it to be set up. And I come in with almost like the icing and sprinkles. I feel like you're the baker and then I'm like the decorator. It's like you're teaching people like, hey, like let's find the most functional, like important things for you to go in your kitchen. And then, someone like me could come in afterwards and offer some suggestions that, are less of an investment than the original renovation. But it's just, like I said, it's just icing on the cake, those little organizational touches that like can make all the difference sometimes, because at the end of the day, like all of our items are just unique. None of them are the same size. Rarely do we buy like all of our kitchen gadgets from one line that are meant to nest together and this and that. So it's like, it's this hodgepodge of different things from different phases of our lives. And so when you can find something that's matching and looks beautiful, and it sort of brings some symmetry to the entire space, which is great.
Well, and I think too, I mean, with both of us working with, or wanting to help and work with people who are looking at remodeling with the intention of living there for a long time throughout their retirement years, knowing where things are and being able to access those things consistently, I think is a huge piece of, that aging in place or living in place. It no matter who's at your home. So whether you have guests in your house who are helping you, maybe with a party, have a celebration at your home, if it's family members, or, if you need to have surgery and you've got somebody coming into your home to help you, that all makes things easier, even especially if you are injured or something happens that you need to be able to access things more easily without having a lot of labor involved in your body to do that. So for example, with the lazy Susan, if something falls back and you've had knee surgery, there's no like crawling around on the floor to get back there to access those items. There's just not gonna be a practical situation.
Yeah. Or like when you talk about, nose to knees, like those pull out trays can make all the difference, because being able to bend down, but then being able to bend down and reach puts that movement gets harder and harder as we get older.
Yes.
I mean, I'm 37 and that movement's hard for me just from years of being an athlete. So so that's why I'm shopping for pullout trays.
Right. I'm the same way. I mean, I was a nurse for 17 years. So my back, and Doug, we have a child who's physically disabled. And so between, being a nurse for 17 years and then lifting my daughter, my back is not great. And I can tell you, like, now it makes all the difference having a better designed kitchen so that I don't have to like crawl around on the floor or get down really super low and crouch for long periods of time to look for something. It is so helpful to be able to, do things in a more ergonomic way that protect my back and my body.
Absolutely. And I just like to just really hit home on your sentiment of just when a space is organized, especially a space like a pantry in a kitchen, which is really the heart of our home. And especially when we might not be well. So to say, someone's had surgery in the home and a caregiver is coming in, or a family member is stepping into a caregiving position. When the kitchen is organized, it basically gives a guest or someone who doesn't live in your home full time a roadmap for how to function in your space and then keep your space that way. When everything has a home and when that home is labeled, it's really easy for that guest to then respect the space and put it back the way it was. I know we've talked at length about, when I was a caregiver for my mom and she passed last summer, and that's how I was inspired to do this, because I saw the impact that having an organized space can have on someone's home, not only when things are going well in their lives, but also when things are not going well. In that entire spectrum, it always helps. It never, ever hurts. So it's one of those things that I realize the impact it creates on a home. And it really makes things a lot easier. And with my dad, who has dementia, I really saw the impact that having organizational systems did for him as well. So it's super, super helpful for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. I'm sure I'm going to think of some other opportunities on the Friday video series. Awesome. And thanks for those of you who watched. And if you want to work with a professional organizer, please give Alicia a call. She had a nice call to action there for you to go and look at her blog on putting together sink storage below your kitchen sink. So check that out, and check out her business if you need some help with organizing. So hope everybody has a great weekend. And thank you, Alicia, again for joining us.
Absolutely. Bye. Thank you for having me. Bye.